So
hard.
let's talk about a non-nuclear military option. What is such a
That's
thing? If you were commanding what if you were commanding a non-nuclear warfare against Pakistan, which involves the Indian military, what are the kind of things you could do?
That is the precise point. I'm very glad we've come to it. What we have been trying to tell Pakistan is that there is space for a limited war between the spectral ends of nuclear and sub-conventional conflict, between an all-out spasmodic nuclear exchange and sub-conventional conflict. There is space for a limited war. Kargil was fought for 3 months. How many nukes did you see landing on New Delhi? Not one. So, Pakistan has been allowed to get away with this blackmail for too long. We have self-deterred ourselves into impotence by, accepting the Pakistani thesis that one soldier crosses the line of control or the international border and pop goes the weasel. Nuclear bombs will start, falling either side. Therefore, don't even think of responding militarily to Jammu and Kashmir. For 30 years, we have been suckered into this. Also, we were suckered into this because of a lack of military capacity. Once the Soviet Union went down the tube, our source of subsidized weapons evaporated. We were in serious problem for 2 decades. Our own economy was close to collapse in 1990. Don't forget. Now the Indian economy is picked up. Frankly, by the first decade of the last century, our remilitarization process should have started. Unfortunately, the UPA delayed that inordinately for whatever reasons, and most of the reasons were filthy lucrative. So we have a lot of catching up to do. And let me tell you that this inexorable Indian military build-up, which will be conventional military build-up, which will be fueled by the exponential rise in the Indian economy, is going to create the windows of opportunity where we can press home clear conventional advantages to teach Pakistan a lesson in good manners as to how
Okay.
exactly it should behave.
Okay, so if India, Pakistan were isolated from the rest of the world, there was no United States, Russia, China, none of that, then this could be certainly a good option to have a limited conventional war and hit them hard. Even there, even before we talk about the other countries coming in, which I want to introduce in a moment, but even if this were an ideal kind of a situation where other countries are not involved, it's just 2 countries fighting it out, how far can we go before, out of panic, Pakistan pushes the nuclear button? Because they will say our nation is now devastated anyway. If I'm going to be killed, I might as well kill my enemy before I die. That suicide bomber is part of this Islamic stupid mentality. It is there. I mean, it doesn't take too much to turn one of those radical thinkers into a suicide bomber. So you could also have a suicide state, a state which says we as a nation go to commit suicide because some Allah or something will look after us. How far do you think, forgetting the interventions of other countries, which I want to discuss later, but even in a bilateral situation, how far do you think we can push before they will press that button?
Rajiv, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad you asked that question because of the simple fact, fortunately for us and for the world, the nuclear button is not in the hands of the suicide bomber. It is in the hands of Pakistani 4 and 4-star generals who live in palatial bungalows with Mercedes cars, retinues of butlers and servants and batmen. And let me assure you, such a person will not press the nuclear button. It means the evaporation of his bungalow, his wife, trophy wife, and his family, and all the perks that he enjoys. Let's be quite clear. The Pakistani military are rational actors. We have dealt with them before. We have pushed them to the level it took to break half their country. And God help us, we can do it again. In 2003, very few people know, an artillery war started across the line of control. We used our medium and heavy artillery to punish Pakistan. Few months of this, Pakistanis cried uncle, and they asked for a ceasefire, which held, Rajiv, from 2003 to 2013. We know their pain points. We know their thresholds of tolerance. We will push them till there. And let me tell you, this has been war game, this has been worked out, and if people think it can't be done, they're in for a surprise. They're in for
Okay,
a surprise.
so-
And let me go a step further. You know, Second World War, Hitler, can you think of a greater psychopath? I mean, he killed 6 million Jews. He had biological and chemical warfare weapons. The war was fought till the Wolfschanze, the Führer bunker in Berlin. Did you see a single chemical or biological warfare weapon being used by Nazi Germany? There was a deterrence, there was a face-off. That same thing can operate, don't forget. And the danger would come if the nuclear weapons fall into the hands of non-state actors. Then the Americans also need to worry, because they will be one of the first targets. The Israelis need to worry. And the whole lot of world will have to gang up to see that we defang this snake.